How much of a learning curve was there culturally and schematically for Matt Haggard, who came from Notre Dame? Because judging from fall camp and yesterday's game, he's obviously picked up things very fast.
Yeah, Matt's a great kid, a quick learner. I think the translation from the Notre Dame offense to our offense went fairly easily for him. He's a great worker. He's got a great energy about him. So guys really took to him from just a charisma standpoint. And he did a lot of really good things. Made a few mistakes that are very correctable. But yeah, so far so good.
You had said last night that some guys were taking the win hard in the locker room. You could see that. I never really heard that a lot. You said you're dissatisfied by that. Do you like that some guys, though, really weren't satisfied with a win like that?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard enough, everything that these guys have going on. It's hard to win, and I like that. I like that they're, not completely satisfied with the score, the stats, or the way it all played out. But at the same time, they put in a lot of, tireless hours to earn being out there, and you have to enjoy that. But again, that's a good problem.
And I remember last year after the Arizona game in particular, obviously lost. They came back the next day, you said, on time, very early, in fact, very positive. Obviously, it wasn't a loss yesterday, but it was kind of a sense of dissatisfaction. What do you see today from the attitude from the guys?
Well, we're around them kind of sporadically today. They come in and get treatment, and so we see a few of them exactly how you'd want, of identifying things that they individually could have done, or identifying what a teammate did and going, oh my gosh, why did we do that? Why do we do things we've never done before, never practiced before? But that's the first game, and whether it's the emotion of it, just the anxiety level that is created in those situations, that can't lead to a missed tackle or pad level or communication, effort. Those things, have to be corrected and will be.
Mark, even beyond what Royce and the two guys that came in after him did, yet a late flash from Taj Griffin. Can you just talk about his talent level and what kind of role he could play this year?
Well, he took a lot of grief for not scoring on that, by the way. He was cold. That's what he said. He was cold. Yeah, I mean, Taj is a guy that has shown a ton of flashes, and he's got a great natural physicality to a really fast guy, which that's not always the case. Whether it's in pass protection, carrying the football between the tackles, we like that aspect of him. And so as we go forward and managing those guys, managing our wideouts, will be a good problem, hopefully.
Matt, 14 carries and 5 or 6 scrambles for Vernon. Were you pleased, or not pleased, but okay with the kind of body shots that he took, or were there things that you said, hey, maybe give the ball here instead of running for it?
There were, a couple missed reads in the run game. Again, probably one of them was trying to do too much. Another one's just not trusting the whole big picture part of it. And that's experience. It was funny. He came up to me. The good thing about him is he always knew why, he always knew what he did either correctly or incorrectly. And that's really big too. It seems like Royce Freeman's pretty good. Or he said Royce Freeman's really good. Yeah, no kidding. But could have protected himself in some other situations earlier. But that's part of it.
You just envision him running the ball that often? I don't know if he did that on a regular basis last year.
I don't really know that part of it, but how they played us, kind of played into that a little bit as well. And in the concepts we had, he was just kind of rub the green.
Rick Morgan in the bench again.
Given the short time that Vernon had absorbing the playbook with his teammates on the field, what were your thoughts on his ability to time routes, time the handoffs, those kinds of things? Is there room for improvement there? Do you think he did a pretty good job first time through?
Well, he definitely did a pretty good job, and we want higher expectations than pretty good. And he if we're just looking at it, his performance was better than pretty good, but at the same time, a ton of little things that he can improve upon, route timing being one of them. I think the biggest thing, again, for a guy in that situation is to know when you did something right that worked and when you didn't do something right and it may have still worked. And, we had a play where he is pitching off the wrong guy and we made a big play, but he wasn't correct, and knowing that's just to make those kind of changes on the fly, and as we progress through the season is big, and he has a great attitude about it.
Have you watched any of Michigan State's opener at all? If so, what were your thoughts? And considering that they do return Connor Cook and some players on defense, but a lot of fresh faces on the wide receiving core, especially, and their running back.
Yeah, they're really good. They, you watch those guys, and yeah, we've watched a bunch of tape on them, and both in the offseason and today and last night. They're outstanding. Really, really good defensively. They've added quite a bit schematically from when we saw them last, and they still make you earn every inch. They do a great job in their pressures of disguising and creating some issues. The Western Michigan quarterback, they were up, whatever was it, 37-7, and had that game very, very much in control. And Western Michigan made some plays late, but they got after their quarterback a lot, and that jumps out.
Andrew?
Pelham said that defensively he was pretty limited last night. I think he made that same point. They weren't running the full assortment. What about offensively for you guys? How much did you really let yourself go?
Yeah, not too much. We again, with whether it's the quarterback and the center, first and foremost being new, a bunch of skill guys for the first time. We didn't do a bunch of motion, didn't do a bunch of kind of our typical fare that way. And so we'll see kind of game plan wise how much plays out going forward. I don't know percentage. I'd be making it up, but fairly limited, but enough.
You said last week going into the game that you were really excited to see Tyler Johnstone and Braylon Addison get back on the field, considering their injuries, not playing for a full season and having to rehab so long. Were you pleased with how they played, respectively? Were they rustier than you thought? Were they about where you expected them to be?
I think that's great. A little rusty, but yeah, I mean that stands to reason for their situations. I thought they played for the most part hard, a little inconsistently here and there, and that's one of those things where I got knocked down, everything's okay, and now I think the confidence just builds and builds. And now there's a different kind of challenge coming in this week for those guys in particular. And so, just have to build that confidence gradually.
You mentioned being limited offensively, defensively. Is that abnormal though at this point in the season? Is there something to be said for, we talk all about how it's Adams, Haggerty, or New, but is that really that abnormal to be limited early and then evolve?
No. And it's, especially you're going to do things, again, we had a bunch of new guys on defense, several very key guys on offense that have, never really been in that atmosphere before, and you're playing to their strengths. And then, you're being, and when I say limited, you're doing, in that kind of sweet spot, wheelhouse, whatever the right phrase is, and going and having complementary stuff off of that base package.
Rick Morgan?
Well, I asked Chip this a couple of years back, and he kind of ridiculed me for asking it, but I'm going to run the risk again. How much, as a coach, do you find that it's true that cliche that the most improvement you see in a team is between week 1 and week 2, or do you think that's not necessarily always the case?
How did he ridicule you? Because I might.
He kind of rolled his eyes. You know how Chip is.
I think that there are so many things that happen of guys, whether it's the paralysis of the moment, the paralysis of analysis, whatever is of those young guys, or maybe a guy that's coming back from injury, they're just not totally cutting it loose for whatever reason, thinking too much, all those things. Or like we're talking about of a lack of communication that leads to a huge play when it's one guy in the wrong gap, or whatever it is. And those are those aw shucks moments that really, really hurt you, that are very easily corrected. And so I think the percentage of improvement or change or whatever, yeah, I mean that makes a lot of sense. Hopefully you're improving throughout the year, gradually and consistently as well, though.
Mark, it seemed like Canton was really impressive in the spring and has the physicality to play right away. Are you thinking about redshirting him with the depth you have there, or what are you doing there?
We aren't, and I should have said this last night, and I heard a couple scuttle after we had zero program suspensions, university, institutional, 0 last night. And so, the guys that weren't in there weren't in there for a reason, and they're fighting like heck to get back.
One of the things Don said last night was that he was kind of disappointed that, from his perspective, some of that miscues he thought were as much effort as execution. Is that, I guess, what was your read on, if you even watched the defensive tape, just the effort, not so much just the guys knowing what to do?
That's something that is non-negotiable in our program, is just sheer effort. There is no debate about that. And so we had some, good conversations about that last night during the game and after the game, and certainly watching the tape, those guys will see that and fix it. And that's where, again, the whatever it is, if I'm the backside corner and the run's away, over analysis doesn't prevent me from sprinting to the other side. And just, again, those guys, we have good guys. They'll see that and fix it.